inside Ogun communities where Fulani and Yoruba live as one. A Fulani man, Abbas Issa, sat on a mat in front of his rented apartment in the Sabo Abeokuta, Ogun State. He faced some children who sat on the floor holding slates with Arabic inscriptions as he reeled out instructions to them. Unbothered about the unkept environment where flies and dirt compete for attention, Issa called out some Arabic words which the young learners recited in loud voices. This is the picture in Sabo when Sunday Punch visited the Fulani settlement where Hausa and Fulani men and women live, mingling with their Yoruba host. It was observed that the settlement affords Hausa and Fulani mix freely with the Yoruba. The relationship indicates a blend of cultures and tribes without rancor. In the settlement, the dwellers, who are mostly Hausa and Fulani, eke out a living through the driving of commercial cabs and motorcycles. They also sell roasted cow meat, popularly called suya. Some of the Fulani women were seen engaging in trading in some things like some of the Yoruba women living near them. The dwellers ostensibly live together in peace and harmony. In recent times, many people in the southwest have been suspicious of the activities of the Fulani in their domain. This is because some killer herders have unleashed terror in some Yoruba communities, maiming, kidnapping, and killing. Many of the settlements located on the outskirts of the village they reside were not different from the houses built by their Yoruba host. Their homes were built with blocks and appeared to be of the same structure as many of the houses built by their host dwellers. Also, few others retained their culture by living in huts close to bushes. Sarki Fulani Sabo Abeokuta Bashir Musa said he was born 42 years ago in the state capital by Fulani parents from Kebbi and Katsina states. Musa said his parents through Fulani knew nowhere else as their home apart from Abeokuta after spending 60 years in the Gateway state before their death. Okay. Musa said his parents through Fulani, okay, I read that, in some settlements visited, which included Sabo, Abeokuta, Egua in Yewa North, Papa in Ekwero, and others. It was observed that some Fulani live in the huts. This kind of housing structure was seen at Marco village in the Odeda local government area of the state. At Papa village in the Ekwero local government area of the state, the settlement was built with blocks and the area has many modern buildings. Besides, the Fulani and their host built houses near each other, and I guess that's good. I guess this is just gives a other perspective to the fact that, not every Yoruba and Fulani person are at war, and it should never really been taken, the whole conflict that is on a macro level should not be taken so personal on a micro level, because again it will cause a ripple effect which is actually not needed. You might think, because you show hate to one one person that who could be Fulani or Yoruba, that could actually transfer aggression in very fast ways that you could imagine. So again, I guess it gives perspective to thinking that they're living together. So again, it's the issue right now is not that, it's not us pointing into one another and our identity as the main label for crimes being committed. Absolutely not. The main thing is that the people we've put in charge of us, or the people we put in which we thought would be for our best interest, are not doing the same. They are gaslighting us. They're not doing their jobs, and they aggravate us. They instill and continue the system of oppression and try their best as much as possible to set a tone where they push out so much division, where we point at each other to be the cause of our problems, when really, because of the lack of efficiency on the part of the government, they are doing it on purpose so that the responsibility is, so they're exonerated basically. So all responsibility from their part is absolved, and we just get into that cycle of having conversations about each other, about our ethnicities, and unproductive conversations that do not lead anywhere. Someone says, very soon you will hear Sakin Ogun community, and the next thing they will be crying like toddlers on how their whole community were massacred because of leadership tussle. All right. Someone says, before we forget, Afonja lived peacefully with the Fulanis in Ilorin before he and his descendants were killed. Ilorin now have a mayor instead of Oba. Maybe in the next 50 years, we'll see Emir of Abeokuta. Only hashtag Biafra, Oduduwa Republic, and freedom for everybody that desire freedom can save us all. I even think that on a micro level, Nigerians just on a separate just shows the amount of mental emancipation we need to go through. And I think that if you go through that, I think that revolution has to first start in our minds. Honestly, that's where the real work begins. Because again, how do you change, ideologies and the way people think? If you want to control people, you have to influence the way that they think. And I think that if we're not emancipated mentally from that, even as Africans, which is actually the more important identity that we have in terms of the progression of our own race, that division is not needed. And I guess one could argue that on a micro scale, if we're so divided, how could it be on a macro scale where we say, oh, Africans to the world, or Pan-Africanism, or just any ideology that brings Africans together? How would it work when on a micro level we don't even like each other? We're not one. And I also think that no one is really talking about the aftermath of the colonial mentality and how deep it actually runs. I don't think that I understand, yes, people will say, oh, how does that relate to make choices? Yes, you do make choices, but you have to understand that some things today are a product of our past, and that is why we cannot forget history or make it a thing where we don't know what our history is. Because again, because we don't even know as present Nigerians the basis and the documentation of how we got our independence in the first place, how do we think we will get out of it? We need to have these conversations. We need to force these conversations. It is recorded somewhere. We know it. So it's like, on what grounds did you get our independence? Because again, you can't be saying human rights. This world is still very much messed up for us to be pushing that propaganda where we expect that organizations will push that. So again, for you to think that, because Nigeria is very blessed, very much blessed, and for Britain to give Nigeria independence, let alone almost all of its colonies independence around the same time. Come on. They made the Commonwealth. Don't you think there's something sneaky there? So again, this independence thing is just for us to just keep quiet and make it seem like as if we're independent when really we are not. So it's like the real thing is we need to question and find who else are the stakeholders, because I'm telling you now, Nigerians only are not the stakeholders when it comes to Nigeria separating or uniting or even getting better in the first place. Because again, the corruption benefits other people and their beneficiaries. So again, the more we fight for this change, the more people that are benefiting from our suffering will be intimidated, and of course we can change things from there. Put what you think in the comment section below, and do not forget to like and subscribe.